afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I see the microphone is working well. My name is Tero Silvola, and I'm actually a CEO for a company called PC Platforms. The name actually stands for biocomputing, which is trying to reflect the true fact that we are trying to combine very complex biological information to a format that you can then interpret. So everything is about genomics. The header today is about genetic data and the utility of that sort of information in healthcare and life science. And I'm starting from the basics. I don't know when is the last time you've been studying and researching something about genomics, but just to give you basics, because high school biology always helps. So first of all, the content that we are working with starts from the human cell. And you may know that in a standard human body we have about 37 billion cells, and each cell actually has then the secret formula for the DNA. So starting from the chromosomes, which are 23, you go to the DNA, DNA base pairs, so A, C, T, G. And in that human DNA, you have basically 3 billion of those base pairs. And out of this 3 billion base pair entity, you are then trying to then understand that what are the coding pieces of that DNA, so directly impacting the protein production in the human body, which is elementary for everything that we do and everything that we represent. And standard understanding is that there are about 20 to 25,000 genes in that DNA that are then reflecting and coding the proteins in the human body. Why this is relevant is basically because the year 2003 was the first year when these 3 billion base pairs were being able to be read through an industrial workflow and process to make it available to IT, and then more for the healthcare and clinical decision making and for the research. And there were two consortiums competing. And eventually the commercial consortium won, and the overall cost of finding out that mechanism was about 100 billion euros of that first human DNA being sequenced. Since 2003, there has been a complete industrial revolution, which we all basically should understand today. So in only these a few years, the cost has been going down every year. Illumina, Thermo Fisher, and a couple of the other that have been focusing on instrument development and chemical workflow development have been able to bring down the average cost to about 1,500 per one human sample. And we would estimate that during the next 5, 6, 7 years, that the cost will be somewhere in the ballpark of 200 to 400 euros per one human sample. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that genetic data will be available in everyday clinical practice very soon. Large scale, not only cancer and oncology and so on, rare diseases, but in everything that we do. And at the same time, the adaptation for using this transformational information will be big and significant in the life science. And this is what I'm trying to describe now. So why healthcare and why life science is so in the future heavily dependent on having genetic data available, and why it plays such a significant role. If you start from the macro pictures, probably every presentation today more or less starts with the same view, that population in all of the Western countries and actually also in non-developed countries links to the resources. So we have a everyday older and older population, and mathematically it's going to be impossible to solve that by recruiting more people to the care. So data is supposed to be the solution, right? So the common word that we are accustomed to is about precision medicine, or preventive medicine, or maybe the better word actually is individualized healthcare. So moving from that disease-caring paradigm to the prevention and prediction is something that everybody's looking for and thinking about. That will then help us to be a bit more cost-effective, targeted, and patient-friendly. So this is one of the primary reasons why healthcare is looking into the genetic data, because it holds the natural understanding how to predict and how to prevent. Second, very concrete, I'm trying to be concrete here, concrete use case links to the usage of drugs in everyday care. And unfortunately, it happens to be so that medicine and drugs that we are using is not always targeted as well as we are hoping to. So there's a certain percentage that we consider being drug effectiveness. And if you go and just quickly scan through that, what is actually the efficacy or effectiveness of certain drug areas, you see, I would say, tremendously awful numbers. So as an example, hypertension drugs, the drug effectiveness is only between effectiveness is between 10 to 30%. Heart failure drugs is somewhere between 50 to 25%. Antidepressant drugs is somewhere between 20 to 50%, and so on and so on. The list is very long. And it's quite amazing to see it, what the impact to the real healthcare system is about. And we work quite heavily on the data, for example, in countries like Singapore. And just some months ago, we had a privilege to open an office there, and we were discussing with those key opinion leaders in that healthcare system. And a big discussion topic is that because of this, what you see on the screen now, there are about 50,000 extra bed nights per year that this drug effectiveness is actually causing to the system. The medicine that I'm taking is causing me something serious, and thereafter I may need extra help inside the hospital. And the simple reason is that that genetic haplotype has not been validated and tested for these drugs. Data hasn't been available, clinical trials haven't been conducted on those geographical regions, but rather on Western European countries. I'll keep on going. So now I stick to the life science community for a while. This is also, I think, interesting. It actually goes to the 2015 when we started with our data science activities more heavily. So what this picture is trying to explain is that the average cost of developing a drug is increasing every year. And the reason there being that the easy solutions obviously are on the market already. They exist. And we are systematically trying to innovate more complex biological diseases. And having those complex solutions on the market, at the same time, the legacy environments require more and more from those companies that are innovating and doing these wonderful solutions. And thereafter, the drug average cost is increasing. And here the number is somewhere between 30%. And it's only been 5 years from 2010 to 2015. And then again, the picture, if I continue with the graph, 2010 and 2015, the expected income from that specific molecule or solution has decreased. So also these wonderful companies that are investing lots of money for the drugs, they have a very, very complex formula to be solved, so to invest while also the expected incomes are going to be less. So these are one of the reasons why lots of stakeholders, a complete ecosystem of healthcare and life science, they are expecting a lot from the genetic data. What can it actually transform and where can it help? And basically you see here some numbers how the global genomic market in the biopharma has been increasing over the years. And it's roughly 13 to 14% now annually, while the cost of the sequencing and data production is going at the same time lower. You see some case examples there, GlaxoSmithKline, Regeneron, 23andMe, that are dominating, and obviously we see us as a key player there as well. This is also, I think, an interesting validation whether this is already a real thing or whether it's still a world that everybody's just talking and hyping, but it doesn't become a reality. So this is a snapshot of some leading edge or cutting edge programs from 2015 to 2018 and 19. You may recognize some names there. If I want to highlight a couple of cases, the pharma development company brands, I think all of you will recognize, but if you don't know what is basically 23andMe, they are a business-to-consumer genetic data company that offers simply to consumers an opportunity to understand something about their disease or heritage. So you can order a sample kit from them, you send your spit basically to their operating center, and then you get a report back. And they are aiming to monetize this data for the benefit of healthcare and life science, and today they are the largest privately owned database that combines phenotypic and genomic data. So today I think they have about 5 million patients in their database, and you see their brand going together with the Pfizer as an example. They were developing and focusing on diabetes. This specific program was in the ballpark of 35 million from the data production perspective. Then you see an example from the UK Biobank in England, together with the GlaxoSmithKline, some hundreds of millions already. Actually, the same company also 2019 working with 23andMe. That specific contract was 350 million to get access to that data exclusively for a while. Then you see Roche and Flatiron focusing on the same elements, and after that business initiative, I would say Roche then acquired Flatiron with 1.5 billion euros. So data is really valuable for these companies that are now focusing on development. A couple of cases more to be even disease specific. The other program of these we have been directly involved. The first one is about a pharma or drug development company called Alnylam, a Boston-based RNA therapy company, so entity focusing on biological medicine. By the way, one third of the medicines that are coming on the market, they are considered biological. And this specific NASH disease, which is basically, I think, non-alcoholic kidney liver disease, they were able to find a loss of function mutation, and based on this understanding, then it was possible to start developing from the discovery phase a new solution for NASH, and Alnylam is doing well, and this product is supposed to be on the market. Then there's another example about Geisinger, but because of the time, I may not cover that. But these are real-life examples how data actually converts to solutions. And the time frame is already, if in the average the development time has been somewhere between 7 to 10 years, with the data you can actually impact a lot to the discovery time. And the time obviously is the most important element to reduce the cost on drug development process. A bit more concrete, so going to the PC platforms examples, our company started to focus on genetic data more than 20 years ago. This company was a spin-off from MIT, a drug development company called Millennium Pharmaceuticals, together with Broad Institute, which is a sub-institute of MIT, started to focus on Scandinavian data, so basically clinical data and genomic data from Finland and Sweden. And that was a starting point then for our company establishment. Today we have customers and healthcare clients, research clients, and pharma clients now in 25 countries. 60% of our legacy or business operations today are from North America, and then 40% divided between European countries and Asian countries. And our primary core capability is to integrate clinical and genomic data together, and then develop systematically different type of algorithms and mathematical tools to analyze these data sets together for the research purpose and then also for the healthcare purpose. So basically, our key segments where we are focusing is on the healthcare side and then on the life science research side, both academic research and then commercial research. And it's a loop. Data that we are able to generate together with our clients in the healthcare is supposed to be available also on the research side. And this secondary use of the data is becoming a very big thing in all of the Nordic countries. I will later show you some examples globally. But this is the way to think about it. There are very good publications lately about the data ethics. And one should consider this very much similar to the vaccinations, that if everybody is able to contribute, everybody will also benefit. So two business units we have. The other one is focusing on the platform, and the other one is focusing on the data science, what you can get out. I want to give you an example of the healthcare side so that you get a picture how this possibility for the secondary data is also then established. Helsinki University Hospital is as we know, by far the largest university hospital in Finland. Population catchment area 1.6 million people. And this is an image of the new lab infrastructure that has been built for this university hospital region altogether. And some years ago, HUS Lab, which is a major lab provider for this geographical region, they started to invest in precision medicine. And when I say precision medicine, I mean in more specific to that infrastructure that produces genetic data from the physical sample to the actionable outcomes and insights on EMR solutions and clinical interpretation. So this is how the workflow basically goes. And in a certain incident, we can obviously open the technology a bit more, but it starts from the raw data that these sequencing devices are now producing. So this is Illumina infrastructure that has been deployed in the hospital, university hospital. We get the BOM files to our system. We do the alignment and variant calling to the raw data. And then we start the annotation process basically against the public annotation databases. So basically our job is to make sure that these annotations against certain diseases is something actionable and Mr. Silvola's potential disease can be treated adequately. So the main users are geneticists that are employed by the lab, and they are doing then the actual interpretation for that one specific individual and patient. And that report is then digitally generated, and ultimate target is to actually feed that information then to the EMR solution so that it's available in patient history, but then secondly also in the data lake that Helsinki University Hospital is developing. So when these type of big university hospital cases happen, or another alternative would be, for example, a biobank that is integrated to the hospital infrastructure, we always explain them that this data is very, very valuable both for the academics and then also valuable for the commercial research. And this data can be made available in a patient-centric, safe, data-secure way, take into consideration all the privacy issues that we have heard also today, other speakers speaking about. And our model that we want to deploy is completely federated. Data never ever leaves that specific database, or it doesn't go beyond the firewalls in which we are operating. The example that you saw one slide earlier, our system can run on any cloud. It can run on Microsoft Cloud, Azure. It can run on Google, AWS, or a private cloud. Different healthcare entities have still different policies. But if we look at the overall global market trend, it goes without saying that the cloud is actually the public cloud or commercial cloud that Microsoft, as an example, is enhancing, or other similar. They are becoming more and more available, and this type of data is more usable through those type of infrastructures. So once again, what we try to do is to integrate these data sets globally across different haplotypes so that you can quickly see what data might be available and then start utilizing that in the workflows. Going back to the pharma, this data does help from the discovery to the preclinical, clinical phase, and then also post first approval. And there are some case examples there listed. Opportunity for the Nordics. Finland, Sweden, Denmark, Norway are not alone. There are multiple other so-called PMI programs called globally existing. We have listed about 20, 25 really prominent major government-driven or national-driven personalized medicine initiatives where the government and the public has strong opinion how genetic data should be used in healthcare and how it should be used also for secondary purposes. And what we are now basically facing are issues and items that we need to solve to make Scandinavian countries competitive. And it definitely relates to the data access, legal framework that is surrounding us, and that gives us then the tools to develop proper AI algorithms, machine learning algorithms, and thereafter solve the real business case for healthcare and life science. I'm rushing a bit, but thank you for the attention and thank you for the focus. Thank you so much.